What's up, guys? Jared Welch, Aaron Halchman, RacingDudes.com. We are back after a huge weekend at the Florida Derby card at Gulfstream Park. Of course, we had Oaklawn with the Arkansas Derby as well, but massive day both in terms of racing and in success from the betting Bible that we had this past weekend on Florida Derby Day. So we want to get back here, talk about the races in general, talk about the hits, talk about the misses, go over some of the betting angles we found profitable, find maybe some of the ones that we didn't. Just more of a dive of how the racing went, the betting went, and then obviously how we're going to use that moving forward. So Halsman, first and foremost, 64% ROI combined ROI for us. We killed it on Florida Derby Day, one of the bigger days of the year. So, obviously a huge rebound from week one. You had an 87% ROI. I had a 41% ROI. First, talk about kind of the feeling of getting back on the on the winning side of things.
Yeah, I kept it a lot more simple as far as mine goes this week. And I think that was kind of the biggest mistake I made last week. And just kind of got a little too complicated with the wagering. And so this week it's like, here's the horses I like, and I'm just going to play these horses, keep it simple. It's what I do 99.9% of the time. I'm not sure why. The first week I tried to get a little bit more fancier than that. I don't know. So maybe the experience of doing the Bible helped for this week. But yeah, just kept it simple and tried to, hey, here's my shots. Here's the horses I really like. Let's make it all about them. And like I said, it came through much better, much more like we had planned.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think if you saw the differences between week one and week two, both from the types of bet, and I think week two, you saw a really good, clear-cut indication of here's how Halterman likes to bet and here's how Jared likes to bet. And when you looked at those, I think off the top of my head, I believe like 7 of the 10 wagers you had listed were win bets. 3, I think, of my 15 were win bets. So it kind of shows the differences of how we like to bet. I had a lot of exactas, a lot of trifectas, which are obviously, my type of betting is a lot more volatile. If but you might hit one and you could pay for the whole day, obviously. Yep. So it's just a little bit different of style, and I think it helped for people that maybe are huge win bettors like you, that they see that, and that's they want to more gravitate towards how you're playing, and then the opposite of, hey, maybe they're more exotic players, and then they're going to gravitate a little bit more to how I'm betting the card. So I just thought it was a really good indication of kind of seeing how you and I like to bet these races.
And that's exactly why we did it, right? Because we used to do a guide article together, and while our handicapping a lot of times will align, or not always, obviously nobody's does, but our batting styles don't really align, and so it also we had success with it, but it also kind of each person had to make concessions at time, and that's really not what it should be. So you're right. I mean, you've got 2 different strategies there, and you got 2 different ideas when it comes to betting. And yeah, seven win bets, 3 exacta bets for me. I didn't want to jinx it early in the day, but when that card's getting ready to start, I thought I feel great about what I've done here. Now the horses just have to run.
All right, so let's take a look at a few of the races, both some of the on the good side and maybe on the bad side of maybe how we wish we would have done a little bit different. I pulled up here on screen. I look at this and I thought, first and foremost, we had 2 races of this whole card. Race number 10, and then obviously the Florida Derby, which was race 14. That we had $130 going through race 14. We had $200 going through race number 10. So it was just, we had so much riding on number 6, market segmentation, and then obviously Forte winning, and we had to get that exacta home in the Florida Derby. But those horses really, more than anything, they had to win in order for us to have a day. Your biggest bet as far as dollar-wise was on the 6 market segmentation. Todd, that race, you and I both agreed on it. It's the 2 biggest win bets we've had thus far, which is only through 2 weeks. So you and I both agreed, which made me feel very confident, but you got a little close there at the end.
Yeah, I definitely did. So I mean, when you're gonna set out and okay, I have a budget of we do a budget of $300 and you could go less or more depending on what your budget size is, but that's what we just kind of do for the Bible. You sit out and you go, okay, what horses do I really love on this card? And the number 6 market segmentation was number 2 on my list. I absolutely loved her coming into this race. I'm not saying she's the next superstar. I'm saying this race on this day, I loved her. And I thought we'd get 6-5 on her. So it was really kind of disappointing to get a lower price, but it was okay. And then the other horse and the number 1 horse I loved was Forte. And so you knew you couldn't bet a win. So you had to work backwards kind of, okay, I like him. Now what do I do with him? But as far as market segmentation goes in this specific race we're talking about, it got brutally close, but I really never felt like we were losing this thing the whole way, to be honest, because she just needed to get out. She just needed some room. So I kind of looked at it like this. I think we're going to get 6-5 or 7-5 on this horse. This is the horse I like the most. I'm going to put a huge win wager on it. I've got other bets around this to where if this horse doesn't show up, we're still going to be okay. Some of my other opinions run well. We're going to be fine. But this was just the one I wanted to hook everything around. And I basically set it up. If she wins, at least I'm going to break even. She will fund, basically, this 6 horse will fund the rest of the wagers for the day. Didn't quite get that because, like I said, she got bet down more than I anticipated. But still, the idea was kind of there of, this is my big horse. We'll fund everything else around this horse.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt the same. I was hoping we'd get even money. That was the hope, so I basically could double up my 75. And then again, we'll talk about that race in a second. I was so incredibly confident on our exacta. I had 2 exactas. You had 1 in the Florida Derby where I was like, okay, I've got 15 bets, but I just need 2 of these to get home for me to have a positive day. And then hopefully, one of these, I can hit 1 of 2 of these exacta trifectas, whatever, and the day will just balloon, right? Yeah. And so that was kind of the thought. Step 1 happened. We got those 2 big ones home. Didn't quite, hit some of the bigger ones that I was hoping for. We'll talk about that. But ultimately, this was a huge make or break moment for the card here. And we're watching the replay here on screen. You can see the 6. At this point, I thought, okay, we've got this.
Yeah, I really wasn't nervous. It felt like she was making up ground. When the 8 starts to kick away from the rest, you do get a little nervous. But you just kind of felt like she had it the whole way. The one nerve-wracking thing is, boy, look at that turf, how terrible it is. And it's like, well, maybe a horse might not like it, so that was a little nerve-wracking. But it wasn't a big margin of victory, but I really never felt, once the horse got free, I should say, I never really was worried because it did look like she was going to pick off that 8 eventually.
Well, right here is when I got a little bit worried for a second because the 8, I was like, okay, this 8's not giving up.
Yeah.
And I did like Princess Theorem a little bit in this race as well. So I was like, oh no. But yeah, the 6 was, you could the way he rode the horse as well, you could tell, was he thought the horse was much the best.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was,
he though, like you said, when you hang one out that wide, he's telling you, I've got the best horse, right? We didn't worry about saving ground. It's just like, just get some kind of position. We're wide. And it was, I think it was a really good ride in the sense that if he did try to tuck inside, he probably gets stopped. And he, on the turn there, he kind of had that decision where he could go inside and try to weave through. And he just said, no, we'll keep her outside and we hope she's the best horse. And at that point, that's what I would have wanted. Think if she would have went inside and got stopped, and you would have been really upset about it.
Yeah, so we got her home. You had you had gotten pretty hot early in the card.
Yeah.
Race 8 was a huge bet for you. I really liked that bet. A $10 exacta box with Personal Best and Amazing Grace. You like those 2 much over the others. And that's one of those bets. And I looked at, I think, a big thing for these days is, it makes it tricky when we're handicapping this prior. We kind of have to estimate or guess what you think these exacta will pays will be. But when they're getting close to the to the gate, and you can see what these payouts will be. I was like, man, I had 5. I think I had the other way. I think I liked Amazing Grace over Personal Best, but still, I thought those 2 were standouts. Should have bet this one. The exacta paid way more than I was expecting. it's just a no-brainer bet.
Well, and that's the way I looked at it as well. The 6 personal best was the best horse in the race from over here in this country, and I thought was a major standout. And originally, I put a $50 win wager on the 6 because I decided, oh, this horse is a way standout. Talking about the first time you go through the card, right? And you go through it again, and you're like, well, hold on here. This number 5, Amazing Grace, she might come over here and be pretty good. She's been running overseas, United States debut, the big thing, great connections. Sometimes those horses come over from overseas. If they got questionable connections, you're not quite as confident. Great connections with the 5. And I said, you better not, because that 5 could definitely beat this 6. And I decided, well, if you're sitting here thinking the 6 is way better than all the knowns in the race, and you think this 5 could be good, it's a 5-6 exacta box. If the 5 takes to the track, takes to the United States racing conditions, this will be an easy one. And an exacta is never easy when you just use 2 horses. This felt pretty easy for the type of wager it was. Like, is another one. It just, when they turned for home, you never really worried that this was not going to come in.
Yeah, and honestly, a big thing for me is why I ended up not only the connections for the 5, but that last race from her where, she got beat by Rebels Romance, who of course went on to win the Breeders' Cup. And so I was like, wow, that's and it wasn't like, she got 3rd by 3. It was a nice effort. Yeah. And it hadn't ran since, and then obviously switched over. So I thought she's obviously quality as long as she takes to the U.S. racing, that she'll be tough. And so, the 5-6, and I don't. What was do you remember what it was? It was like, what were the odds, or what was the payout on that?
It paid $7.90 for $1, I believe. I think it was right at $7.90. So, like you said, we do videos on this. I've done videos on this on the past. A lot of people, when they see favorites, they get scared, and it's just like, I got to skip it, or I got to make a reason to play at 20-1. And look, if you don't like the favorites, definitely don't play them. I'm not saying, hey, play every time, every favorite. If you get in a race and you love 2 favorites, these exactas, at least in my opinion, always pay a little bit more than they should. And I guess we'll get into that as well in another race. But
Exactly. All right. So, we get going here. We'll save the Florida Derby for last. But okay. I want to go through a race that I literally I've lost sleep on since, and that is race 11 for me. You had skipped the race. I played it because of kind of how I handicapped and who I liked, and I think let me pull it up here. All right, so my top 4 in the guide, my top 4 handicapping was number 5, Breathe Away, Metaphysical. That was the 10, the 2 Love Appeals, and then the 6 Mohawk Trail. Mohawk Trail was 30-1 on the morning line. Metaphysical was 8-1 on the morning line. 6-1 is what they went off at. 25-1 on Mohawk Trail. The Love Appeals was your favorite, and then Breathe Away was 5-2. I really liked the 5. I tried to get. What happened was I got greedy, and I wanted to try to get the 6. If it was like, if the 6 or 10 wins, I want to have a piece of that. So I played those 2 on top in one way. Then I switched around 6-10 over 2-5-6-10. Then I switched it around 2-5-6-10 over 6-10. Here's the problem. I had a 6-1 in second, a 5-2 who wasn't the favorite win, and I profited $7.20 on the race. Yeah. The exacta paid $19.20, so you're basically almost getting 20-1 on that exacta. But I lost $6 on one of the bets, on one of the wagers, and then I made, I made like $7 or whatever on, so it's just like, it was just a frustrating way, because I was like, you know what, and thankfully I had people email me saying that the way you handicap that race, maybe I played it a little differently, but I cashed, and that's awesome. I was like, great job, I'm glad you did. I've honestly lost sleep over it, thinking like, okay, how should I have done this differently? And ultimately what I came to, let me take that off the screen. What you should have done here, what I should have done, and I think this is a good, so there's different ways to play these, and it all depends on how you handicap the race, but I really liked the 5 in the race. That was my top pick.
Yeah.
Well, why move off that, right? And so if they assume you had a $20 budget which is what I try to do if I'm playing these exactas or tries, $20 to $30. You can ladder it out, you know. So obviously the lower payout was the 5-2. Those are the two favorites. You play that $10 straight, 5-2. I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head what the will pays were, but we're gonna say 10 to 1, about $10 is what that would have paid, because you got the favorite beat, but he did get second. So 10 to 1. So you're making $100, right? If that thing wins, or you're cashing for $100. Play $6, 5-10. All right. So those are my next logical. That's my top two really. That 5-10, we know what it paid. It paid almost $20, 20 to 1.
Yep.
And then the 5-6, if things get, if the 6 gets up, which by the way, we'll pull up the replay here in a second. If the 5-6 finishes, you play at $4. It paid 80. It was. I remember it being high. It was. Let's say 80 to 1. So I mean, so I get the payouts there down below. 5-2 pays 100. 5-10, which is what I had, what it came in, 115, and 5-6 pays $320. And that 6, I don't know how the 6 didn't get his nose down, but he almost did. So the point of this is I would have profited $100 if I would have played it this way versus profiting $7.20. And there's no reason not to do it this way. And if you do want to, if you look at the way you play this, if say you don't really love the 5, but you do think the 5 is the most logical, well, maybe you like the 10. So maybe you play 2 of them, 10 over 5, 10 over 2, or whatever it is. Like you can, like the awesome thing about what betting the ladder is, you kind of have an idea of, okay, here's like the goal of my payout. I'm trying to get from $100 to $200 or whatever, and I can bet accordingly. I can bet $4, I can bet $6, I can bet $8, but you're betting it straight. Now, obviously, the killer here would have been, say, I bet it this way, and that 6 runs up and wins the thing. Mm-hmm. But that's part of playing, tries and exactas. I mean, if you really felt the 6 could win, which I didn't, if you thought the 6 really could win, then play 1. You can only play for $2 or something, 6 over 5 straight or something like that. There's ways to play that and still profit a lot of money, or play it, save your win bet. Play $10 to win on them or something, Yeah. If that's what you feel, you can play exactly what it is. You're like, I don't want to get beat here. If the 6 wins, we'll play 10 to win on the 6 as well, or 5 to win even. Try to still get to that dollar amount that you're trying to get profit-wise if you're right on the opinion. So this one to me, I really dove back into and tried to study the race and how I could have got the most out of my handicapping. And I think this would have been the way to play it.
Well, it goes back to what we talked about last week when we didn't have that great of a week. And it wasn't a total disaster, but it wasn't a great week at all. And it's just like our handicapping wasn't too bad, really, in the Louisiana Derby week. But it was just, God, our betting was just atrocious. And this was not atrocious by you. I think, hindsight is always 20/20. I want to say that. But you did look back at this and say, no, I could have done this much, much better. And that is what it's all about. Sometimes you get to a handicapping level and you think, yeah, there's still things to learn. There's always things to learn, but I'm not going to get that much better as a handicapper. It's all now about experience and seeing things unfold and be like, keeping out of your mind of, okay, maybe I can take that moving forward. You look at a form, it's like, I'm not gonna improve looking at this form, right? I've looked at it for years. I know about it. You can always do this though for your gambling. This is how you learn. This is how you say, hey, I had a good day, but don't just go out and celebrate. Go back and look and be like, well, I had a good day, but it could have been a crushing day if I would have done this. And now I can take what I've learned here and apply it forward. So I think it's really good that you went back and looked at it. And I think that's why videos like this are important. A lot of people will look at a video like this and say, oh, they're just bragging about hits. And that's absolutely not what this is about. This is about trying to learn, trying to move forward, not only for ourselves, but we've got a channel that people watch. And that's something people can look at this and go, hey, I see what they're saying here, or, or whatever. So yeah, it's a heartbreaking situation right now, but you are going to learn from it and move forward from it.
Yeah. I mean, this 5 just took off, and at this point, yeah. I still think no way I can get this exact even home, but the 10 and the 6 just
I don't know how the 6 doesn't.
I don't either.
Here's the deal: if the 6 gets second, you're not on here as upset because it would have paid enough to where it's like it's okay, but still you are a little upset because you're like, oh my gosh, I had it, could have really pounded it,
Yeah. I don't know how those.
I don't know how he lost a photo.
I don't either. I don't know either, dude. It was one of those that, yeah, and you're right. Like if the 6 gets second there, well then that goes from being like you said, say it paid $80. I mean, I'm profiting $60 or something. Like, oh, that's great. But the bottom line is, and that's kind of why I was so upset and wanted to go back through this. It was like, all right, I had the top 4 finishers handicapped to a T almost, and I made $7. Mm-hmm. And it's great if hey, I got the right handicapping, but if your job, if the way I'm playing these are, okay, here's some wins, here's some stuff like this, but how I'm going to really make this thing go is by cashing one of these exacta tries each day. I screwed it up, right? This was an opportunity to make that thing go. And I just, so that I just didn't find, I felt like, okay, when you have an opportunity like that, you gotta cash it home. And I do want to be clear. I think the answer here of when the bet I did make there would have made more sense is say the 10, because the 10 is what kind of screwed it up, because the 10 got bet a little bit. If the 6 was 30 to 1 and the 10 was 30 to 1, then all of a sudden that makes a little more sense, right? Because it's a little bit illogical of a result. In that case, 5-10 still pays. It's a $12 total bet. Still pays a big amount, right?
Right.
So, but whenever you have the 10 being 6 to 1 and the will pays are only $20 or less, well, it makes a little more sense to hammer that 5 on top over those and just make them a little bit bigger than $1 base amount.
Right. No, I agree. And like I said, I think what you've kind of come up with of, okay, here's what we're going to do moving forward makes all the sense in the world. And listen, you're gonna have that decision or that situation come up again and again and again. So maybe next time you do it that way and you should have boxed it or something. But eventually, if you play that way long term, eventually you're going to hit one of those. And if you miss 4 or 5 before that, it's not going to matter. And that's the beauty of what you're trying to do with your wagers, right? Miss, boom for $500, boom for $300. And that $20 we invested and we missed, it's whatever at that point.
That is what is so fascinating to me about, especially exactas. I used to be a big try player. I still play some, but the exactas fascinate me because there is such an opportunity with playing exactas to turn what normally would be a 4 to 1 odd prospect into a 20 to 1 odd prospect, 8 to 1, 15 to 1, whatever it is, by doing about the same amount of work and the same amount of handicapping. And honestly, you could even lower your budget by playing it that way. Because think about it this way, Halterman, that 5 who I liked was 5 to 2. Yeah. I would have to wager much more to get, say, $100 to $200 payout versus playing it for $6 base or whatever. You play that. So there's the odds. Now you got to be right. There's a lot more variance and it's a little more difficult. But I do think long term, if you play it with the right strategy and you know which times to play it this way and which times to play it that way, you can be highly successful with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. And that's just it. It's getting to that happy medium or that perfect spot, so to speak, where it's like, this is where I'm living. This is like you said, and it's all about projected. Here's what I can make with these bets. Get into that happy medium, get into that perfect spot. And then, like I said, you kind of stay consistent with what you do. You don't miss 2 and go, well, I'm an idiot and I got to change everything. You just, hey, I'm making positive EV bets. These are the bets that make sense long term. I will hit one of these because my opinion's not going to be wrong 100 times or 20 times, Mm-hmm. And when it's right, I will crush. And you said it. You tried to do that and you damn near did it. And like I said, if the 6 wins the photo, you're not real upset about it, but you kind of learn from, hey, I still screwed that up a little bit,
Right. Yeah. The six would have smoothed things over drastically. Yeah. I think they moved the line for the six.
They really did. They always move the line.
All right. Let's look at the highlight of the day, both in terms of racing and our wagering. Race 14, which was the Florida Derby. This was one of those races that even before they drew the card, I knew I was going to play some sort of exacta this way. I did not think Forte was beatable. Turned out he wasn't, but maybe he was closer than I thought. And I just did not like the field that was coming in to try to face him. So I didn't get real creative here. I just thought Mage was the best of the rest. I also was a little bit concerned about the 9 Cyclone Mischief, so I played again. This is a little bit similar, a bigger cash value for me, but obviously it's a similar strategy in terms of I have a higher rate on the 11-4 because that's obviously the low. I believe it was like 4-1 in that department as far as what you were getting off of that exacta, whereas the 11-9 was 9-1, 10-1, somewhere in there. Of course, so you lower that base amount and you're still trying to get to that spot. So I played it that way just to kind of protect myself. You played it the same way, you just didn't have a 9. You just had 11-4 straight. And so to me, this was a great way to bet. I think we hit it in a different way than we expected.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought Mage would get out to the front and Forte would run him down late. And if you just fast forward to the stretch, that looks like that's what happened. But Mage actually breaks last in this spot and has to rally from last. It blows by Forte like he's going to win, and then Forte comes and catches him. So it was a wild experience watching the race because I definitely thought we were screwed the whole time until Mage started making that big move. But I thought, well, maybe. With this, I never even thought about doing anything different than the 11-4 exacta. Like, that was the play no matter what. It was just trying to set the price that I was going to play it at, or the ticket I was going to play it at. Here is what you please, if you only take one thing from this video, take what I'm about to say. I have a whole video on it on our YouTube page. When you see a horse like Forte and he's 1-5 and you go, well, he can't be beat, play it like this, or play it a straight try even. Put him on top. And then if you have a strong opinion on that second horse, just play it straight for a ton, whatever a ton is to you, right? Like, if you like to play exactas and spend $10 on them with them boxed or wheeled, just put that $10 and put a straight 11-4. They always pay much better than you would think. Think about this. Forte paid $260 to win. Mage to place paid $340. Those are $2 payouts. This exacta paid $7.80 for a $2. So that's why you don't say, hey, I hate I can't bet Forte at this price. I'm just going to play Mage to place. Never, ever, ever do that, ever. And that is why. $340 versus $780. And you're essentially saying Forte can't be beat, so I'm playing the second place horse on a place. No, just play the exacta straight. This is the number one wager for me all year round. I would not be a profitable handicapper without wagers like this. And they're simple to me. Now, again, if you don't have a strong opinion on that second horse, things change a bit, right? But if you love that horse in second, it's how you do it.
Yeah, right here. I mean, it's just, I felt like, okay, now we got Mage, but we got him in the picture now, but now we need this horse to run him down. I didn't think he was going to ever get there.
I didn't either. It went from being worried about Mage because, like, I didn't know what he would do from way back there, to being worried about Forte catching him. Yeah, you don't see that often where a horse zooms by and then gets caught by another horse. That's something you just don't see that often. I hated Mage in the Fountain of Youth. I mean, despised him. But you can't let that stick. You got to analyze these horses as they go down the road. And I went back and watched the Fountain of Youth several times. It's like, that's the second best horse in this race. He ran fantastic. First time going long. First time against winners. Didn't get the trip at all that he got in the maiden race. And he still ran really well. I thought he would project and run very, very well. Didn't think he would do it in this fashion. But he's a really nice horse that's progressing. And then, like I said, Forte showing that class, thankfully, to get by.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe you may have been a little more concerned, but about right here, I was like, okay, because I have the 9 in second. I've got the 4 in second. I've got 11 obviously needing to win. At this point of the race, I'm just like, Forte, just get up, and I've got this thing hit. So I know it's going to be one of those 2 in second at this point. I thought the 9 ran incredible. Both way, you said it. I thought the way this, and it's funny, it kind of did at the end, but you thought, okay, the 9, the 4 are going to be out there in front, and the 11's going to have to come get them. And I like both those horses, and I like that exacta. Well, you didn't think that 11 would be in front of both of them, and they would both pass him, and then he would go around. It was just kind of a wild way for this thing to, but at the end, it was how you expected, those horses in front, him trying to catch them. It was if you go back and watch on our YouTube page, watch the live stream. We are, I think all of us are just watching this. Just melted trying to get this horse home.
I know, and sometimes you do get burnt. That second horse will beat your first horse, and you get really mad about it, But you just kind of felt like since it was Forte, he was going to get there, right? If it wasn't Forte, maybe not quite as confident, but you're right. Once they got to the 16th, it's like, oh boy, he's still got a little ways to go there. But put the head down. I think part of it was Mage made such a big move on that turn. He may have flattened just a bit and was able to allow Forte to get up there.
Yeah, it was a great day for of picks, of racing. That obviously getting him home was huge, and that was a big payout for both of us, and it made the day a good day, and to a huge day, and I think there's no other way. I that's the thing. Like, there's sometimes I've played those exactas, and obviously I played them much smaller. There was, if you look, I believe it was race, this race here, race 6 or race 3. I had the 6 on top. It didn't come in, but I loved. It was only $19 bet total. It would have probably been 20, but I had to make the even 300. But my point is I loved when I looked at the wheel pays. Both of them were really good before the race, and I was like, okay, I can live with, especially a race like that where you have a little investment in it. It's about the opportunity, right? If the wheel pays are like $14 and it's like small amounts, and you're like, well, that was stupid. But when you know that there's the potential of a big payout, you put yourself in that right position. And the same goes for the race we just watched, the Florida Derby. It's like, okay, I'm going to get 4-1 on a horse that was 1-9 for most of the betting. And to me, that is where, even if he loses, I'm like, well, I thought that was a great bet. And, so it's just putting yourself in those positions to cash and to create value is what this game and what this betting is all about.
You hit it right on the head. The horse was 1-9 and 1-5 the whole time, and you're creating value by using another horse that you really like. And like I said, you can even go one step further and try a straight trifecta, right? And then I think it would have paid like $120 if you had it for $10. I was looking at that this morning. So, if you want to get there and try that, you can do that as well. It is just in those situations. And again, if you like the favorite, if you don't like the favorite, completely different discussion. Ignore all this. But if you like that heavy favorite, don't get discouraged. Don't say I'm skipping the race. Don't say it's a terrible betting race, because it's not. You can create value. You just got to play those, whether it's the exact or try, you got to play them straight, and you got to get that second or that third horse right, depending on what you're playing. But you can do it. I mean, you really, really can. And like I said, it's we've seen it over and over, and that's how you have to play it. And again, I never wavered on the opinion of those two coming in 1-2. If I'm wavering, I got to switch. I got to change it. But if you've got that strong of opinion, it's a very, very simple way to make a decent amount of money on horses that are pretty short prices.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be exactas. You can look at Flightline at the Breeders' Cup, the doubles into him were very doable. I loved Rebels Romance going in, the race prior into him. You just pound that, and it pays.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's a great example of one where we lost, but I thought it was the best bet I made of the whole Breeders' Cup, and it's one that I lost. I can't remember exactly what it paying, but you had Flightline, who I thought would literally have to fall down to lose, and I had Taba in a straight exact, and I think it was paying like 10-1, 11-1, something like that. And I looked at you before they got out of the gate, and I said, this is the best wager we've made. It comes in or not. It's a great wager because you've created double-digit odds on a horse that can't lose. And Tabor ran third, and we lost it. But that's the point. And sometimes you will lose it that way, but you're going to lose long-term, period, no matter what, if you're betting 1 to 5 and 1 to 9 horses to win. But when you're pairing them up in those exactas, that's how you win long-term playing shorter prices, right? Because, hey, if you lose 6 of those 10 wagers, but you're wagering on 10-1s, well, you're still ahead. You're still ahead very well. So anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you bet 50 to win, say on Taba at 1 to 9, well, great. Or I mean on Flightline, great. Yeah. Congratulations. You go buy a beer with that. But if you bet 50 to win 50 on that exacta, well, sure, you lose. I mean, that sucks, right? You lose 50, but you would have made $500, and that's going to work. Like you said, you're going to be more profitable on that long term versus playing the 1 to 9s who aren't always going to be Flightline.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. And, it doesn't always have to be the short price. Like Arabian Night Red Route 1 was one that paid, I can't remember off the top of my head, $10-11, I think, for $1. So I'm not saying always have to put that second choice in that second spot. No, put your second choice in that second spot. So yeah, it's, again, over the long term, you will hit more than you miss, and they will pay, and that's how you can get around saying, well, I'll just pass this race because this horse is 1 to 5. And again, not all 1 to 5s are created equal. I'm not saying do that every time there's a 1 to 5. If you don't like that horse, you don't trust them, forget about it. Try something different.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, whenever you don't like a 1 to 5, I like playing it like let's just throw them out completely. Play it completely without them, whether it be exacta, whether it be a try, and just get them out. And because if he's in there, if it's a 1 to 5, I mean, it's unlikely you're going to get very good value anyways. But if you don't really like them, then you might as well try to get them beat completely.
Yeah, and if you don't like them to win, but you do like them, maybe finish second or third, that's when you ignore the exactas and tries and say, hey, that horse that I think is going to win, that just bet a win right there, right? Because like Jared just said, if you like him, you think, I think he's just going to get second or third, then you're still not going to get paid all that much. You're not going to get paid enough, I should say, to make that wager worth it. So, but again, if you think he's off the board, you think, he's just way over bad, and I think he can finish off the board, then you can bet a little and make a lot.
Especially if you don't like the horse, say, but if you're like, but he's probably, he's 1 to 5, he probably could get up and get second. And then say the horse you liked at 10 to 1 wins, and the horse ends up being shitty and can't even get second. Well, then you feel really dumb because you had the 10 to 1 shot and you made $0 off of it because you're the big favorite that you could have just tossed.
Right.
So it's all about how much you like the horse, the confidence you have in that horse, and where that value can come from. Again, if you think he's really, really good, but you just like this 10 to 1 better, play the exacta. If you don't like him, don't talk yourself into include him just because he's 1 to 5. Just get him beat. And I think that long term you will create value with that. All right, guys. This is longer than I expected. That's what she said, but it doesn't matter because we had lots to cover here, and it's going to help. Hopefully, it helped me. I know it helps you, and hopefully, people watching this, it can help. We have the Betting Bible coming back this weekend at the Bluegrass Stakes, Keeneland. The dudes right here will be there live betting these this time. Instead of doing it online, we will be there betting these exact tickets that we will be giving out on the Betting Bible coming out this week for Bluegrass Day. We're also going to include the Wood Memorial and the Santa Anita Derby on that as well. I know the cards aren't out, Halterman. Is there any type of wager, any type of horse, anything you're kind of starting to kind of get rolling as far as an idea in your mind of what you might want to bet?
No. Honestly, because okay, let me preference that. The other races that are going to be at Keeneland, we really don't know who's going to be in it, right? So I can't really comment on those yet, because you might have an idea of a few, but you don't have a race shape in mind at all yet, right? Okay, the Wood. As I sit here right now, I know who's probably going to be in it. I have no idea who I'm picking. So that's all going to be post position, what jockey picked what, past performances, obviously. Bluegrass. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I know, again, I just don't know what I'm going to try to do. Santa Anita Derby would be the only lean, right? But I'm not 100% sure if Cave Rock's there or not. So that could throw a monkey wrench into it as well. So I don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have a horse who doesn't break and comes from way out of it. Can he get it done in the Bluegrass and in the Woods? A freaking cluster. Yeah. Like you said, and then, yeah, I mean, if Cave Rock's in the race, sure, maybe, but we don't know. And so there's a lot of question marks going into these preps. I do think Keeneland is historically very good with us, and the undercard is going to be vital. There's prices, you get value. There'll be a huge day of betting. The pools will be big. There's tons of opportunity on the undercard. Yep. Those stakes races, both Friday and Saturday. Saturday will be covered on the Betting Bible. But yeah, with this Betting Bible, not only you get the exact picks and wagers from Halterman and I, and how to play, exactly how we're going to play this. You also will get the ROI. You'll see how we've done with wins, tries, exactas overall. You'll get a pick 4 and pick 5. We'll be him and I combined to how we're playing those. You'll get kind of a general summary of how the bets are going to look, and you'll get top 4 picks from not just us, but the whole team at racingdudes.com, whether it be Somo, whether it be Magic, whether it be Papa Dude, Dr. Miranda, Vinny, all those everyone's included on the guide. You get top 4 from every race at Keeneland, as well as those other Derby preps at Santa Anita and Aqueduct. So thanks everybody for watching this. Hopefully this helped. If you have questions about the betting or thoughts, maybe something you cashed or you learned, make sure you leave a comment below. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Tons of Derby content headed your way in the coming weeks. We are in the final weekend of Derby, big Derby. They have the Lexington after, but the final push, and we can start completely focusing on the Kentucky Derby. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
He's ready. All right, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. We'll see you guys next time.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track across the country. We're ramping up for the 2023 Kentucky Derby, and we want you to join us in the fun. Subscribe to Racing Dudes YouTube channel, click the notification bell so you never miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.